Hey, Hakase here. So, I've played WoW for over 20 years, but I only relatively recently, at the end of Dragonflight actually, discovered how macros can be an absolute game changer, especially in Mythic Plus, for every single class and spec. I am talking specifically about mouse over macros. So really quickly, what is a mouse over macro? Well, it's a macro that encompasses a spell or ability that allows you to use that ability on an ally or enemy unit without selecting it as your target. Here's an example of me using a mouse over macro to apply my dots on my warlock to all of these dummies without having to change my target. And it's not like I didn't know that you can do this before, it simply never occurred to me just how much this can elevate your gameplay. For those that have played League, it's like using smart casting versus not using it. And much like in League, I don't think you can afford to not use these once you start getting into higher keys. And to be honest, at any content level, this will greatly free up or enhance your ability to perform while making the game feel a lot less action cluttered. So let's start with a specific example that almost every spec can benefit from: interrupts. Who's familiar with this situation? Casts are going off and you need to interrupt, but you're currently doing damage to or healing a different target, and it feels really uncomfortable, for lack of a better word, to swap your target, interrupt, and then swap back to your original target. Well, imagine if you could instead continue doing whatever you were doing and just had to put your mouse over the nameplate of the mob you wanted to interrupt, press your interrupt, and continue doing whatever you were doing. You actually never even need to stop performing your rotation. After all, targeting a different mob and then getting back to your previous target takes a significant portion of your focus away from your positional awareness and away from using optimal spells or abilities for output. Not to mention that it just feels way more busy. Just putting my interrupt into a mouse over macro has vastly improved my ability to interrupt and do everything else while not skipping on interrupts. So here's how to put your interrupt into a mouse over macro. Type /M to open macros, go to your character specific macros, hit new, give it a name, so let's say kick, and then paste the macro and hit save. Now you can just drag that macro to your action bar where that non-macroed ability was, and you're ready to go. And this macro template will work for any direct offensive ability or spell, so for example CC abilities. Oh, and if you ever want to use these abilities on your current target, you can just hold down right click, which makes your mouse cursor disappear and impossible for you to accidentally mouse over anything. And by the way, all of the macro templates I show in this video are in the description for you to copy paste from. Next up, I want to talk about the most important and nearly required application of mouse over macros, and also incidentally how I personally started using mouse over macros absolutely everywhere I could, which is healing. But this section is about much more than just healing. It's applicable to off heals for DPS specs, dispels, and externals. Think things like Bop, Freedom, Innervate, Power Infusion. The reason this is absolutely crucial for healers specifically, especially nowadays, is that healers are expected to do damage, which means you need to constantly target enemies, yet quickly heal allies when required. It makes for extremely busy and unenjoyable gameplay in my opinion to constantly swap targets to achieve this. This is where mouse over macros are an absolute godsend. As you can see on my monk, I put each healing spell I use, my externals, and the spell into mouse over macros, and here's the format of these. Just swap out the spell name to cover all of your heals and external beneficial abilities. With this setup, I can heal, use my externals, dispel, DPS, and interrupt with very minimal target swapping. If you're having problems juggling healing and DPS, or making use of your entire toolkit to help your allies as a DPS player, I can almost guarantee it's because you're not using mouse over macros. So with that out of the way, let's cover the last important application of mouse over macros, which is ground effects. The best spec to demonstrate the usefulness of this is the Destruction Warlock, which has to absolutely spam Rain of Fire. Now, these are not exactly mouse over macros, technically they're at cursor macros, but it's an extremely similar concept. AoE effects like Rain of Fire give you this targeting circle, so you have to hit your keybind for the spell, and then click to confirm where you want that spell positioned. For destruction, this can be a huge pain, but can also be quite an overhead for others that use these types of abilities. Think Death and Decay for Death Knights, Blizzard for Frost Mages, Flame Strike for Fire Mages is a big one, but also extremely useful utility spells like Ring of Peace or Ursul's Vortex. Here is the macro template for this type of spell, and with this, I can just spam Rain of Fire to my heart's content without breaking my left click. Well, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you found this useful. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.